Welcome to Healthy Rebel Radio, episode 150. My name is Dr. David Dizer. I'm here with my co-host, Amy Lane. Good evening.
Good evening.
Let's jump into it. And we're back. Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you this evening?
I mean,
Kids are asleep.
I'm here.
Good to go. We're back. It's Healthy Rebel Radio. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is episode 150. We're glad to be here. Glad to be talking about today's topics.
Mm-hmm.
It's a strange time. It's a strange time. We just got back from Disneyland, which was
That's a whole conversation.
unbelievable.
Right, but that's a whole conversation in itself.
Happiest place on earth.
Okay, so behind the curtain, I totally did not want to go. Okay.
Actually
beyond didn't
There's
want
a
to go.
super long story here.
Okay, so even more so, okay, my personality is just not a Disney. It's not even in, if I wrote a list of 100 places I'd like to go right now, it's not on the top 100.
No, you never would have thought of it.
I never, I was very exhausted. I was very beat down. I was by myself with our beautiful but exhausting children for how many weeks? 8 weeks straight or something?
A long time. I was teaching a course at night.
And working the weekends.
Bad choice.
Terrible choice.
Bad choice.
And he was coming home after the kids were in bed and basically leaving within an hour of them waking up. And I was just beat down as a human being.
And then I thought I was going to win the day by doing a Christmas reveal.
So Christmas morning, he brings in this box. The kids open it.
It was huge.
The balloons fly out. And there's a card for each of us. We're going to Disney, and he's so excited. And I'm just what is happening? A, this is something I never would want to do. B, I just felt who is this right now? It was so out of the realm of us as a family.
Yeah.
It was nuts to me. It felt like you felt...
I immediately felt okay, I'm nuts. What's wrong with me?
No, what I felt is that you felt guilty about teaching.
Yes.
And then I think you scrambled and was I need to make up for this. I feel like it was a mistake.
Absolutely.
Shouldn't have done it right now in this time of our life. And then I think you were what it would be.
How can I blow the roof off this
What
place?
is the best thing on earth for kids? Because we've learned, because we've done a lot of not kid-friendly stuff that is we've gone out for really expensive high tea experiences and True's peed on the floor. So we try to do family-friendly things now, and I felt you scrambled. And
we went to a resort that was no kids allowed.
Yeah, we did that, and there was cliffs. Yeah. Anywho, so now we try to do, anyway, long story short, my dream was just going to a cabin. That's who I am. That's what I
felt like it was that kind of time.
And
that would make the most sense.
Before we had children, we used to go every couple of months. And since we have children, every few months we try to go, and make it a priority. And that's very important to us. One of our biggest goals in life is to own a cabin that we're always working towards. Anyway, I thought it was cabin time. I thought this is happening. Our 10-year wedding anniversary is 2 days after Christmas. Anyway, Disney. All that flashed in my mind was
she was mad.
Consumerism. Totally off vibe. Exhausting for me. I'm already beat down. Now I have to plan the logistics of taking these children to the States, going to Disney. All of it was just... Long story short,
and
cranky.
It wasn't for 26 days, so we had to sit on that for that amount of time.
Yeah, it was lovely tension. So anyway, we get there. The kids behave amazingly. We finally get there, and I have nothing bad to say.
Nothing at all. We had an incredible time.
It was magical.
It really was. Happiest place on earth.
Just from the standpoint of, I know it sounds silly, but just, it was easy. We stayed right there, so we could walk to downtown Disney. And when you go into downtown Disney and the resort, everywhere, it's just perfectly clean. It's all young families. There's always that magical music playing with no words. It's just...
Definitely, and it was kind of a quiet time.
It was super quiet. There was no waits for anything. It wasn't congested. I didn't have to worry. The whole time I just pictured myself panicked. Where's Drew? Where's Drew? And like, when I think about Disney, I just watched her by herself do dance performances in the middle of the streets just at least 10 times.
Yeah.
And she just was like, this is the best place.
That was the vibe of the
ever.
week, for sure.
Like, she just would
just
she would
random
just be
dance
in
parties.
like a dance. Like, not even like watch me, you guys. Like, she was in her own world with the magical music playing, loving, like, the weather was perfect because it wasn't hot. It was room temperature. So it's like t-shirts. Everybody was comfortable all the time. It was just literally could not have been better.
We should watch some of those videos of her dancing. It was
I
so sweet.
have.
Oh
It's
my
so
gosh.
dear. Like, just her in her own zone, just like, this is awesome.
We ended up having a really relaxing time.
It was so relaxing. Like, I just pictured what I hear everybody say about Disney. And actually, a few years ago, went with my nephews to Disney World.
Yeah, we went to
in
Orlando.
Florida. And it was hot.
We had a great time, but it was different.
It was very different because they were of the age where, like, it was the high, all the rides that everybody wanted and all the Harry Potter stuff. And, like, we waited hours for things. And I just, like, envisioned, it was like we were in, like, some sort of war because everybody was, like, chugging water and exhausted. And, like, I just picture families against walls, red face, like, everyone was fighting. And, like, I remember giggling and turning to Dave, like, happiest place on earth, like, parents just telling off kids. And, like, it was a nightmare. This was a completely different experience.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Not to say that we had a blast with my nephews. We didn't take it seriously because we didn't care.
For sure.
We were
didn't have
single.
kids. We didn't know anything
like,
about life.
We didn't have kids. We were just, like, doing our own thing, had an online business, thought that life was so hard.
Wow, isn't it crazy that people have kids? Like, what is this?
Like, we loved to dip in hang out with my nephews, but then we left.
Yeah, we were drinking iced coffees and wine.
Yeah, I was doing tequila shots in the pool at night.
Oh, my God.
Having swimming contests with the kids.
Yes.
You know, I was
different
fine.
Time.
I was okay.
It was a different time.
It was going to be all right.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
This time we got rejuvenated. We were only there for 5 days, but...
I think we're all of us were rejuvenated. I mean, we came back, ended up getting, I don't know, the flu, I guess.
The most deadly flu you've ever seen. Oh, my goodness. We were out for it.
Like, and we were on such a high when we got home. No one was tired. Everyone was, like, excited.
I think it was the sun that really helped in terms of, like, how we were feeling.
I think also being a family unit when we hadn't seen each other in so long.
Yeah, you're right.
We actually all really like each other. We're not the type of people that thrive when we all need time together.
We do.
We just do.
But what's funny about a vacation like that is we didn't eat as clean as we normally do. We were up all night.
Yeah.
And we still felt great.
Yes.
So funny. But then we got back and we worked hard for a week and then everyone was sick.
Everyone got really sick. But it's so funny. At the week before, or like a few days before that, the day before we all really got sick, I was saying to this mom how, like, and not in a cocky way, and not in a standpoint way, and not even in like a this is what I believe way, but it's like, we don't get the flu shot.
The day before.
And then the next day, dun, dun, dun. I said to Dave 1 week into the flu, I was like, do you think we're going to get the flu shot next year? So funny.
Oh, we couldn't believe it.
Couldn't believe
my
it.
Gosh.
Before we had kids, I never even had a sniffle.
No.
These things are germy.
Years
went by.
Years with no colds and flus.
Yeah. Anyway, we made it to the other side barely.
Yeah, we did. And here we are back. Now we're feeling the positivity of 2020 again.
Yeah. Cliff notes, if you don't know, 2019, bye.
2019, bye-bye. 2020 is a big year. We've got 6 weeks. We recently purchased the clinic that I consult for. And so in 6 weeks, we will own an integrative medical clinic.
Very exciting.
It's extremely exciting. It's extremely exciting. We're going to be partnering with the other naturopath who I work with. And we have only 6 weeks left to launch a business.
Yeah.
And when it was 6 months, we found out when there was 6 months countdown, and we thought, okay, well, that's a long time. And
I never felt like it was a long time.
You never felt like 6 months? No. I felt like that was an eternity. 6 months?
I remember you convincing me that when I was crying.
I can write a business plan in 30 minutes.
I was like, I was crying and I was saying, this is too fast. And you're like, you're delusional. This is 6 months. And I was like, this is a major undertaking and we have 2 major distractions. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's a lot.
Oh, no, 6 weeks and we've done zip. Although for the last couple of weeks, even through the illness, most of the interviewing is done. Most of the administration is organized. It's just a matter of...
Everything is done. It's just now going through the motions of doing
Yeah, definitely. Like, it's still... Even though the entire team is centered on patient-based integrative care, helping people reach their highest health potential, we're absolutely driven to help people as much as possible. It's still a business. We still have to have branding. We have to have a good name. We haven't decided on a name. We have to have payroll.
List, yeah.
There's tax information to take care of. There's a ton of things for us to do.
Just the small little details. It's just a lot.
You know what? None of it can be signed. None of it can really even be done without a name. You have to have a name.
Yeah, and we keep debating on the name. So.
It's a complicated thing. A lot of the great, if I was to put it out to the audience right now, what do you think would be a great integrative clinic name? 99.9% of the time, that name's already taken.
Well, send us some.
Please do. Contact at damihealth.com. Send it. And as many names as you can think of.
Or message me on Instagram or wherever.
In the DMs.
Yeah. Slide into those DMs with some clinic names.
If you have some good ideas for good clinic names, we would love to hear them. Yeah, I think the real challenge for me has been to try to match the vibe of what we have right now with a good name. Like, we are a complex chronic disease clinic. We mostly do detailed nutrition and supplemental and pharmaceutical support, as well as functional and conventional laboratory testing for people who have been diagnosed with some illness. So we're it's a complex, but it's a primary care practice. And
you each have your own kind of specialty.
We have little lanes,
lanes
that we work in.
Yeah.
And so there isn't it's not like, for example, a pain clinic.
No.
Although we treat pain.
Yeah.
It's not a cancer clinic, although we do cancer support.
Yeah.
So, it's...
It's tricky.
We'll figure it out.
Well, I mean, it's a good problem.
Everybody
has so much talent that it's hard to get, that's why it has to be an open, powerful, grounded name. Because one thing that everybody has in common is everybody is deeply rational and deeply invested in pushing forward evidence-based medicine. And I think that that's very important. And I think that,
Definitely.
It is different than a lot of different lanes people take, and so I think it's
absolutely. Even the people we're adding, I mean, even the team members, we're adding people to drive our mission forward purposely. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. We need a good name though.
I have great names, but
you have excellent names. To be fair, a lot of them are taken from there are a lot of clinics in this neighborhood. It's
when I do my workshopping of names, I refuse to do the Google.
Oh my gosh.
Because I don't want passive influence. I hate that. When I'm doing a creative creative, but the Achilles is Steve, it's that's a thing already.
Well, your brainstorming is hilarious. Here's how she starts out her brainstorming. She's okay. Well, listen, it's got to be.
First, I won't talk about it for a couple of weeks.
No, nothing. No interest.
No, it's not that.
Are you thinking about it? No.
You'll be buzzing around me, going, "Okay, you want to come up with something right now?" He thinks that I'm just a creative person that you can just tap into at any moment. I won't make eye contact with him for about 2 weeks about it, and then on my own time.
How much does a name really matter? Look, there's a van driving by that's called tiletime.ca. He probably does great.
I'm sure he does great. We don't want to do great.
Okay, so here's how she starts out her brainstorming session. Okay, it's got to be a brand. It's got to be a single name. It's got to be abstract, but it also has to represent something that's light, and fun, and good.
No one's gonna find that weird.
Okay, so she said, "What about Apple?" Okay, this is the number one brand in the world.
And then he's like,
number 2 brand.
We can't compete with Apple. And I'm like, touche.
Okay,
but the way I was going,
Apple.
I was like, what about Apple Wellness?
Oh my gosh.
And then I was like, but then I started to get funny.
That's so funny.
Then I started to
it's
harass.
What about this logo?
And then I was like, what about a logo? Hear me out. Just an apple, and someone bites it. David's like, now you're trolling me, right? Yeah.
It's easy to lose your mind when you're doing this kind of brainstorming. Like when you think about it, like
but you're not saying,
you actually did say apple.
I have like 25 good ones.
You have
You're
excellent
just bringing
names.
up the one that was like
The first one.
Yeah.
First one, yeah.
I just was like an apple a day. I was trying to go for A.
Yeah, we need an A name. Come on.
Yeah, but I don't know.
I think it's not easy to.
Then
find
I
an
wanted
A
to
name.
name.
I
I
don't know
thought
that A
that
name's
True would be great, and then you're like, we can't name business after one of our daughters. And then I was like, well, can't we get another business?
We can start a second business.
Third.
To make
be
up
a third
for this.
business.
A third business to make up for this.
Actually, fourth, really. Because we have Healthy Rebel as well.
It's too many businesses.
We have so many businesses. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I don't know if you can name a business after your firstborn.
I think it's a great idea.
I know you do. Anyways.
I love it.
I like the way that it would probably suit the clinic nicely, but so, here we are. The clinic, we're in a very fortunate position because we're purchasing a clinic where everyone has agreed to stay on, and the clinic does really well already, and we don't have a lot of systems to change. Really, it's a situation where we can just change over the name on a lot of things.
But the one thing that we are going to change is the building is super old.
It is very old, yeah.
And it's not like the vibe is not going to be right off the bat like the cool kids that's where you hang out. Like, this is actually a place you go to get better. Mm-hmm. Like, it's a results oriented place. But we're gonna go white, light, natural wood, bring in my vibe, plants.
Absolutely. I mean, you're going to just in what you've said already, the place is going to be transformed. Mm-hmm. It's not going to take much, but it's going to be a little while before we get it all done. But fortunately, we've got tons of space. Now we need your eye to make that space a really good healing space. And I think that it's going to be excellent. I'm really, really excited about it. Yeah. We have 6 rooms. I mean, it's a big clinic. And, now we've got one of the rooms doing virtual reality therapy. Oh, that's exciting.
I've shared some video of you just here by yourself.
Oh,
when not like at night, just when you're
doing practicing. Oh, my
Back
gosh.
off, ladies.
There's a lot of training that goes into it.
I know. I did think it was funny until I did it.
Yeah, definitely.
And then I get it.
Well,
you're offering a lot of therapies that are really unique. You just need to I feel like we need to talk about them more.
Yeah, we will.
And it's the whole conversation of I have to change my social media back over to professional.
Yeah, well, it is what it is. We're going to get it all organized.
So that people know what we're doing. I feel like we do so much. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people don't know because we're just not the type of people that, push it via social media. And I'm not saying we should push it, but I think we should share it more.
Right.
Because I think it's interesting.
It's just a strange time. We've been so turned off social media.
That's the problem. I've been so nauseated by it, by just my physical reaction to it. But then having people in my life that are grown adults that are completely disillusioned and they're telling me someone's about a person and they're telling me their handle on Instagram.
Right, yeah.
That's insane to me. They're living
identity.
They're totally submerged and they believe their identity is Instagram, and I can't comprehend what the heck's going on.
Right.
And I get it. There's a lot of people making money just sharing their everyday life, and get yours, do your thing. But I can't do it anymore. I unfollow a person literally every day because I can't take just people telling me what to buy and what to wear. I think it's obnoxious.
Definitely.
I literally go on Instagram to try to support my peers in business and my actual friends, and I can't get 3 people deep anymore without either saying something rude in my head or just feeling sick and I have to get off it. Either I'm just I know someone that's just so fake, I can't read this. Yeah. So then I end up saying something mean in my head, hateful. Right. And then I'm what am I doing? Or I'm just like, someone's trying to sell me, like smiling, trying to sell me or whatever, like their t-shirt. And I'm just like, ugh, ew, like I'm a grown woman. Like I just can't do this anymore. Like it's grossing me out.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, and it used to all be, my social media used to all be like, how to run faster, how to be faster, how to get up earlier, how to work more, how to work. And then that all made me sick. So I started like following like, you know, things that made me like feel nice. And then these people just started like selling stuff like I can't do
the
it.
The motivational quotes, yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It can feel incredibly sickening. I had an experience recently where I went to a business mastermind for naturopaths. It's basically like a business thing for naturopaths who are starting new clinics. And I thought, this is perfect. What a time. Like I'll go to this, I'll check it out. It'll help me with, you know, all this accounting and things that like we have no idea what we're doing. I just want to be seeing patients. And we get there and it's like 20 naturopaths. And it's kind of like a high-end restaurant downtown Vancouver. And it's all free. And the lecturer who runs an incredible clinic, like we're talking a big-time clinic in a really big city, starts off by saying, like his first words are, okay, I want you to forget right now that you're a naturopath or that you're an integrative practitioner, because there was MDs there too, and only think that you're a business person, that you're an entrepreneur forever, not just today. Now you're an entrepreneur. You own a business. Drop it. And here's what you want to do. You want to start branding yourself. You want to make sure that you're putting at least 70% of your time into your social media and direct it towards a program that you can sell online that will then generate you freedom. And here's how you do it. And he goes into this big spiel about internet marketing and how to sell programs online, which is our core business that we had before I had my clinical practice. But everybody there has a clinical practice. Yeah. Nobody there is online. No one there is looking to sell ebooks.
Not only
no
that,
one there is looking to sell courses.
Like saying really that weird. Superficially, like what we did to get to that place.
And the whole presentation was like, you can accomplish this, like today.
Yeah, and that's insane.
you and I are 10 years in. We had our 10-year celebration in September.
Yeah.
And you know, we've sold over 5,000 programs. Yeah. And I don't know if this person has sold 20, but
that's what's obnoxious.
I felt really sick for everyone in the room because everyone's taking notes.
I know.
Like, okay, here's what we're going to do.
And now they're going to chase their tails and go try to do that because this is what this guy's saying. And like
he said that he spent like 60. I'm misquoting the numbers, but it was maybe even more than this, like 60,000 that year on personal development, and that we all should do the same, and that we should all go home and invest in our website now to the tune of like thousands. And everyone's like writing detailed notes. Anyways, I left.
Well, yeah, and there's like two reasons for that. Is like when you're in the field of boots on the ground, actually working in a clinic, helping people, it's terrible advice to tell someone to just stop thinking about helping people. That's sickening. Definitely. Because then that's scary. Yeah. For people.
Yeah. I knew some of the people there, and I know that they're only there because they just want to help people. Yeah. Like, that's the only reason they're there. Yeah. And they're not there for, like, a specific, like, I want to get rich type meeting. Mm-hmm. They're there because, like, we have a bottom line. Yeah. And if we don't meet that bottom line, we can't help anybody.
That's right. So everyone has to do, Yeah, and it really feels sleazy. And it also is demeaning to people that have had online businesses and what it takes to do that and to generate a great income.
I had a really hot head afterwards, so I'm like Googling them and I'm like checking out the numbers and doing all these stuff. I'm like, oh my God, what was I doing?
Yeah, and that's what's upsetting. Because the other thing is that he just took a course and someone told him that.
Oh no, it was every slide was from a book I had previously read. Yeah. Like they were concepts taken from, and I have read all of these books.
Yeah, because we did it.
Well, you know, like this is the thing when it comes to our program, which is nutrition and exercise for holistic weight loss. We have an incredible opportunity here. Yeah. There are millions, if not billions, of people who are having extreme difficulty losing weight, even though people are telling them that they should, if they just cut their calories and exercise more, they'll lose weight. And so there's so much value in applying these principles to get this program out there. Like, our program is really good.
But not to take, like, put myself on a moral pedestal.
Sure.
But I will say the whole drive for us to even have that, to have our online program for weight loss and optimal health, I'll say, was because of what I had been through. And then I actually transformed my own life. And I was like, I can't believe I just wasted all those years and chased all those books and did all these stupid programs and hurt myself. I genuinely felt like I was withholding a secret and I wanted to tell people. Yeah. And however that comes across, that's just genuinely what happened.
Definitely.
And I wasn't, like, I had no agenda of, like, trying to tell someone they had a certain body or whatever. I was just like, if you're frustrated, if you're, like, you know, gonna do diet pills, if you're, like, at the end of your rope kind of deal, if you've binge diet, you're buying all the things, nothing's working, whatever, let's do this kind of deal. And I was just, like, so excited to be able to not just work with people in my immediate little city, that I could actually work with people from all over the world. So I find it, gross and sleazy when someone is like, here's what you do, and just sell it to people. Like, I just, especially in the health industry, like, I just find that so gross.
Well, you know, it's never going to work unless your drive is coming from a place of...
I wouldn't say that. There's a lot of things that have been successful and made millions of dollars.
It's so rare, though.
I was just talking about this.
It's got to be rare.
I don't care. Like, I was just talking about this the other day. Like, sometimes I get mad at myself with my high integrity. Like 7 years ago, I had the opportunity to get in at a very, like, starting level with one of these protein weight loss shakes. Yeah. And I was like, no, because I would never really do it, whatever. And a girl in the exact same position, exact same social media at the time, level as me, was like, yep, I'll just shut my brain off and get the money. And she did. And she made like $2 million. No
way.
Yes, she did.
What?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And that, I get mad at myself looking back on that, because then I debate, like, would it have hurt like anyone really? If I just shut my brain off and for 5 years just hustled this protein shake, probably wouldn't have hurt anyone. Was it? But it wasn't genuinely what I did, so I felt like a fraud and I couldn't do it.
Right.
But, like, why couldn't I just shut my brain down and get the money?
I get it.
And then I could just stand on my moral pedestal. Like, it's frustrating. Like, I get mad at myself all the time for this stuff. Like, I've had a few opportunities like that where, like, I could have been in, but I was like, I don't use it. I don't believe in it.
It'll pay off.
Will it?
Who
knows?
Totally. I think your lesson really has to be the YouTube lesson. Your lesson has to be the YouTube lesson. Because we started our business in 2009, if you guys aren't familiar, September 2009. Which YouTube wasn't really a thing. No. We were attempting to post to YouTube, even if it was just like simple things.
By the way, we
the first year,
have an archive of vlogs.
We have lots of video. Yes,
we do.
We did some vlogs. We never posted them. And so it like, even if you just did makeup tutorials or something, I know. It would have been excellent. But you know what? That really is the lesson. Like, it didn't fit the time, but we didn't challenge ourselves. I probably could have done it too. We didn't challenge ourselves to get out of our comfort zone.
I don't even think it's that.
Well, what do you think the lesson is then?
I don't think it was that. I mean, our focus was shutting off our brains, making enough money to get you a degree you wanted.
Yes.
And then there was no time. How was there any time?
Any time? Well, we were doing blogs.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it was blogging was the thing at the time. And people who couldn't or didn't want to write.
But the thing is,
they
was
did
night
video,
and
they're crushing it now.
Yeah.
And now it's video, and it is what it is. But
yeah, I mean, we should have done it. We didn't. So
the point is, now you don't know who is really giving you the advice. Like, there are so many people giving health and wellness advice on YouTube, and it is well received. People talk about it, and I basically know everyone because people talk to me every day about what they've learned and their so-called research. And in many cases, it's excellent stuff. Like, in so many cases, it's like, yeah, that is exactly what you should be doing.
Wonderfully curated.
For sure. And then there are the outside bits. And the outside bits are scary bits.
And it's always the outside bits that they're so confident.
So confident. The one that worries me the most is the high LDL train.
Yeah.
Like, people are running around with high cholesterol, and because the guys on YouTube are telling them that's absolutely fine, don't worry about it.
Yeah, that scares. That's really scary. Personally, I get really scared about the people ingesting silver and charcoal.
Yeah,
I get freaked out.
There's a lot of things being ingested out there, and on the advice of YouTubers, and that freaks me out too. People are bold to give advice like that.
They don't care.
No, I don't think you're right. They don't care.
They.
No.
They're the group that could shut the brain down and just.
But there's still these well-respected people who try to teach lab work on YouTube, and they tell people to ignore their MD.
Yeah, that's scary.
And then the MD's like, all right, and writes a letter that they counseled them that they should be doing this said thing. And then people don't do it, and they get super sick. In some cases, it's scary stuff.
It is scary.
So, when you're out there looking for people to get advice from, it's important that their background suits what you're looking for. And also, nothing is on the fringe.
Yeah, fringe is scary.
Like, you don't want something that's swinging, like, that's absolute in any direction. If someone's saying it's for sure like this, then that overconfidence can really put you at risk.
Yeah. You want some overconfidence always freaks me out. You want some humble understanding that there are variables in life.
Definitely. Like 50% of heart attacks are not because of cholesterol. They're because of some other thing. So if people are telling you that if you do this, you're not going to have a heart attack, or whatever. Like there are so many other things that can lead to cardiovascular disease.
Yes.
Than just whatever one thing you're watching the video about. Like, you would be so surprised about how overconfident some of these people can be.
Scary.
And it freaks me out. But I'm getting into extremely complicated things. Like, I'm spending all of my days talking about tumor microenvironments, and now I'm talking about exercise physiology, which is much more complicated than I had initially thought. Because I have this new device. We have a metabolic tester in my clinic now.
We decided a few years ago that David would always spend like a sum of money every year with like some sort of piece of technology for himself. And then we decided that maybe you should be buying these pieces of technology for something that's actually going to be part of our business instead of just... And you've been really good about curating very...
I think so.
Interesting, really helpful pieces of technology for people that is just so unique.
Once we get the word out, I think by April 1st, I think it's going to be good. So this device is called Pinoe. It's a metabolic analysis device. We're the only clinic in the city who can do resting metabolic rate and VO2 max and an active metabolism test. So we can see if someone's burning fatty acids or carbohydrates.
I'm just so excited to do it because I want to see when I'm like, you can tell people where their best place, where their heart rate should be to burn the most fat.
Absolutely.
That's amazing.
So we see exactly how much watts you're pushing on the bike and what your heart rate is and how much fatty acid you're burning. Yeah.
That's amazing.
So like, for example, I've done 3. I'm in the practice mode right now, all the way until April 1st when it's officially launched. And we've got 3 absolutely surprising resting metabolic rates. Some people burn... So resting metabolic rate is like how many calories do you burn when you're just laying around.
Right.
And it predicts how many calories you would burn in the course of a day if you just laid around all day. And I was probably surprised on all 3. And so the reason that's really important is for some people with very low resting metabolic rates, they shouldn't be doing fasting.
No.
Fasting is not going to be appropriate for them. It's more like we should look at these other systems like the hormonal system and the stress response system. And then we should definitely build muscle. And then so the other test that we do is the active metabolism test, seeing what type of fuel you're burning at what heart rate and what wattage. And that at the end, when you're really pushing it, you can see what the VO2 max is, the volume of oxygen that you can use at your maximum output. That's a measure of cardiovascular function, lung and heart. And we have seen that, for example, some people when they're exercising, they're pushing it too hard. They're only doing HIIT. They're only doing high intensity interval training. and they're not able to lose any weight. And really what they need to be doing is long, slow, steady state at a low heart rate, push, 45 minutes to an hour, 3 times a week, and they'll lose weight because we know that's when they're burning fatty acids. That's when their exercise is in mostly fatty acid burning. Now, the carb depletion happens when they really push it, and you want to do that once in a while. You want to take your glycogen or your carbohydrate stores down to zip and refill them, because you're probably eating carbs. Most people are, but not every day, right? Every day that's going to lead to burnout. It's going to suppress your ability to burn fuel, and so you need to do these long, slow. So, for example, with you, why we got into this so-called business of the nutrition around weight loss, and why we think our program is so good. Your issue was your adrenal glands. When Amy and I started dating, she was eating apples and yogurt. That was it, and could not lose the weight. And small frame, obviously slow metabolism at the time. We ramped up the exercise. It didn't work.
No.
It wasn't until we healed the adrenals. It wasn't until we figured, okay, this is probably adrenal fatigue, if not burnout. We fixed it, boom, gone. Yeah. No problem. You became a fuel-burning machine, where all you really need to do was your so-called all-day workout and your walks and eat clean. Yeah. By clean, we mean on the program, which is generally low-carb, but not even close to keto. No. And what a win that is. And for someone who like you went through a significant number of years, I'm seeing people who have gone 30 years, 40 years. I would have. And now we're going to solve it in an afternoon, Amy.
Yeah, it's amazing.
We're going to solve it in an afternoon.
That's amazing.
It's exciting.
It's really exciting.
The fortunate thing for our clinic is that we have a way to transition people. Like we're doing high altitude or we're doing oxygen training. So people can come back and do their cardio with me or with one of my colleagues. And with oxygen, and then they can do oxygen deprivation and get more out of their workout. Because we have a open scope, we can give exercise plans, for example. I can tell people exactly how to exercise. And this has been really nice because for the last 12 months, I've been focused on all of the longevity research around fasting, intermittent fasting, time-restricted feeding, water fasting, all these things. And we've talked about on the podcast, like how to do safe fasting, how to do all this stuff. Now, we can add the exercise physiology component to it, and like, oh, I'm jazzed. I can barely take it.
We can tell.
So it's fun. So the official launch of it will be April 1st, and I don't really know what else to say other than people do the test. We tell them how to eat and exercise based on their resting metabolic rate and their active metabolism.
It's amazing.
And then they come back 2 months later and they retest to see if it improved.
It's amazing.
Yeah. And it's mobile. I can take it anywhere. I've already contacted the professional sports teams. They're interested. They're interested. Usually these devices are only at universities.
I'm just picturing you just walking around with this case.
Oh my God. So they're usually only at universities and professional sports teams. And now I have one.
Get out there, player. You take your little kit everywhere you go. You can bring it anywhere. You can bring it anywhere. God, that you're funny.
You'll see me down at the beach running with it.
Oh, believe me.
It's better when you do it outside, to be honest.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
So that's what's going on. So the only thing that we need to do is we need to find the vibe for the clinic. And what you're saying is that it's got to be nature. It's got to be wood grain, lots of plants, lots of trees. I think people are going to like it.
I love it.
It's exciting. So that's our next 6 weeks. Now, the way I want to transition our talk, we don't have a segment to review today, but we were talking about social media and the impact that it's having on people. And I think we need to move forward with some action, right? Like, so we're all hooked. If you're listening to this right now, you're probably thinking that you're checking social media too much.
Yeah, high probability.
It's very rare to find someone who doesn't feel that deep down.
One of my girlfriends, we were having a conversation about social media just the other day, and she said, I don't see you, but I feel like I know what you're doing because I just check your social media. And she's like, gosh, that's a dangerous thought, isn't it? Like, but it is. Like, we're not checking in with each other, and we feel like we are.
Right.
We hadn't seen each other in, like, months. We live a few blocks from each other. And we hadn't seen each other in months, but we feel like we already know. It's just weird.
Yeah, that
but
is
it's
weird.
like, we don't. We just see, like, an image. Like, we know, like, you know.
Yeah, that's an odd concept, isn't it?
Yeah. We think, because it goes the same way as, like, these people that, like, kind of, that you know, that are just completely fake on social media and are running, like, a life campaign of perfection. Like, you know that's not real. But then, like, even with the people that aren't, like, trying to do that, like her and I, she doesn't know what I've been up to. I don't know what she's been up to. Like, you know, like, we have no idea. Like, we're just looking at these images and, like, are just like, oh, yeah, we're good.
Right.
And then we just forget to contact each other. It's awful.
Yeah, yeah.
We were both like, yeah, that's weird. We just had this moment of, like, yeah, we gotta. And she was saying, like, for herself, she's been practicing, like, just being in silence again.
Yes.
Because, like, it's not only just checking social media. It's like, you know, sometimes you get to a place where it's like, oh, you have silence for a bit, and then you're like, I should put a podcast on.
That's what I do.
Yeah, that's insane. Like, we never used to be like that.
I
You
know.
and I, we were so good at listening to ourselves and letting you cannot let your creativity bubble up if you're constantly listening to someone else yang. No matter
Exactly.
if they're, like, great or not. Like,
No, for sure.
It's not healthy. Like, even if someone's great, like, the attainability level is insane. Like, when we used to watch Oprah, even, like, there was just only a certain level of content. It's like an hour a day, 5 days a week, okay?
Yeah, it's not 24/7.
And, like, you know, now it's just like you can listen to someone talk 10 hours a day on their podcast. Like, that, it's not normal.
Mm-hmm.
You shouldn't be listening to that much content of any one human being, like, because what they've done for their life, like, and we're listening to people to hear their wisdom, like, underneath their stuff is really what we're ever trying to do, is hear the wisdom there so that we can, you know, up level and use our gifts and our tools and, like, be great is what we're always trying to do on whatever level we're meant to be great. That's where we're coming from. But, like, it's like what they've done or who they are or what they use to be great isn't the recipe for us.
Right.
Of course, there's wisdom and tidbits from every person, and you should digest that and, like, lean into whatever you're interested in and whoever you're interested in, for sure. But, like, the level, it's not normal. It's not healthy.
It's not normal at all. And there's a really good theory around this. Sorry for interrupting. There's a really good theory for the current state of anxiety and depression that we're dealing with in modern society. Is that it's due to simply the amount of information. Whether the information is good or bad, doesn't matter.
No.
It might just be too much.
It is too much. I once heard someone say, and it was like 5 years ago, like, the era of data collection is over.
Yeah.
Like, it's time for like, the people that are educated or in the field, like, to use their wisdom and go forward.
Right.
And I try to, like, remember that often, because I feel like you and I both can get really caught up in, because there's just so many interesting people that have such interesting lives.
Definitely.
That have done such amazing things and now you can just hear or read about everyone.
Everybody.
That wasn't the way before.
You can get to know them.
All of them. You can know what they ate through the 70s.
That's
like,
so weird.
That's insane, right? Like,
Yeah.
It's a different level. And, like, I find it fascinating. And I can get hooked in. And then all of a sudden I come up and I'm like, what am I doing?
Oh my
I should
gosh,
be
I
using
know.
my creative energy right now this last hour. And I should be writing the next program that people are waiting for.
Exactly.
We're not
I've always
listening
wanted
to,
a
like-
mentor. I've always been like, okay, I need a mentor.
That's issues. That's a whole nother.
Okay, all right, calm down.
That's issues.
I've always thought there needs to be someone who has done this, who can help me. I have these goals. I bet you we can accomplish this.
That's like a savior syndrome. It's like when women think a man's going to come rescue them, you think a mentor's going to come, like, you've got it all.
Is that it?
And-
Is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's a white knight syndrome.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, it's just different. It's just a masculine version.
So when I follow these people, I'm like, okay, wait a minute. I don't need to know them. Right? I can just follow them.
Oh, that's so dear.
So now I'm like, okay, so now what I'm trying to do for myself and for others, because I'm using these different virtual reality worlds for anxiety and depression for people. One of the worlds.
Oh, Jesus. Do you have a mentor?
No, I don't.
Okay.
No, I'm saying I'm getting away from this. Hold on. Leave me alone. Okay, I'm saying.
Did you create a mentor?
Oh my God, a virtual reality mentor, yes.
You're doing great, David.
It's getting weird. It's getting weird.
It's getting weird. Go on.
I'm not fully trained. Don't listen to me. The key here is that one of the pathways, one of the program progressions is for anxiety, and it's a mindfulness program.
I need
it's
that
basically
one.
teaching the concepts of mindfulness in virtual worlds. Mm-hmm. And the idea is that if you get better at mindfulness, the anxiety fades away. And so it's for generalized anxiety disorder. It's for serious cases. I'm very good at the first 2 sessions, and they're centered on the removing the limiting factors to mindfulness. The first one is intrusive thinking, automatic thoughts. Nothing drives automatic and intrusive thinking more than social media.
No. The other day, I literally was scrolling through social media. I shut it down because it was making me angry. And then I sat there for 5 minutes and I was like, I had this real anxiety feeling.
Yeah.
And I sat for 5 minutes and tried to remember. I couldn't even remember what it was. What gave me anxiety?
That's weird.
And I was like, because I could have picked it back up and just looked. And obviously I would have found what the trigger was. But then I was like, no. Like, what was it? And it was so benign that I couldn't remember.
Well, here's the thing. Let's say...
I just sit there and focus on... Then I remembered.
Yes.
And it was something like, like something that triggered me to the have-not.
That's the word there is trigger. Like, let's say that anxiety and depression are drummed up based on our experiences of our experiences. How we perceived what we were going through when we were going through them. Now they have an impact on us that can last forever. When you're...
I gave myself a freedom way of thinking about it.
Tell me about that.
I decided, I'm high probability I heard someone say it, but I started thinking of it now as they're just like divots I've created in my brain, and that I can slide into it. But what gives me power is like I can stay out of the divot. Right. If I keep attention on and keep like the maintenance up to stay out of the divot, then I can stay out of the divot.
Okay, so that is practicing being present, and that is mindfulness, and that's a discipline that we're trying to teach people.
Yes.
The idea is that if you build that discipline muscle, your experiences of your experiences, your perception of what you've been through, will have less of an impact on you now, because you're present in the moment. Here's
my backdoor anxiety that I get. The real mother load anxiety. This is the mothership. Is that my deepest fear is that if I let go of all my little anxieties and all my little neurotic things that in my mind, in my darkest place, I think keep me in check and push me forward and keep me in line and keep me trying to be bigger and better and reach greatness, let's say, that if I let that go, if I let the little anxieties go and I become some sort of peaceful Zen person, which at times I have been in my life, that I won't go forward. And I'll get to the end of my life and I would have done nothing.
This is called stress.
Yeah, it's the sneaky anxiety.
It's so sneaky.
It's the mother load. Because that's the scariest thing to me, is that if I die and I haven't self-realized, I just...
Okay, so here's the thing that drives me a little bit. This is how I try to view mindfulness now, because I feel the same way as you in certain respects. And when I'm teaching this, it's difficult for me to say like you should just be in the moment and just breathe and just be with the breath, because you should do that for a while and get good at it, and then I think that there should be some direction towards a conscious thought that is supportive of your highest good. So the way that's how I look at it.
Yeah. Well, Michael says.
Michael Beckwith, she's speaking.
Yeah, which he's like my man. Says you're pushed by pain until you're pulled by, let's say, pleasure.
Yes.
Right? So that's the difference between anxiety and inspiration.
Yes, right.
So living an inspired life, you're pulled. It's almost like there's a calling and you're like, trying to go along with it. It's like calling you and you're going towards it and it feels right. It feels good. Mm-hmm. But the anxiety is like, what are you doing? Mm-hmm. You're not good enough. Like, so you need to be faster. You need to be smarter. You need to be ahead of times. You need to whatever. And my one I slide into is just regret. Like, I just have so much regret.
Here's how you frame it when it comes to the mindfulness, the practice of mindfulness. And these are the lessons that they go through. And I think it's incredibly valuable. The first one is when you're dealing with intrusive or automatic thinking, that you should simply sit and be and focus on one thing. In my example that we work with people, it's watching leaves fall from a tree. Mm. And when you have these thoughts, you just don't judge them. You have no judgment of them. They are what they are.
The cloud going by.
You put them on the cloud, you let them go by. The second training that we do is we're meditating in front of a bonfire, and they kind of go up and smoke with the bonfire. Mm. Some people like to see them, write them down if they're important.
I used to do that. Do you remember that? I used to write down my fears and then I'd burn them on the patio.
Yeah, I like that.
In a bucket. I used to do that. I should do that.
It's a good one.
Yeah. That is a good one.
And then the next stage of mindfulness that we're focused on, the next stage that we work on, I don't know if it's a barrier or not, but we try to address the mind-body connection to allow people to recognize that connection as easily as possible. So on a day-to-day basis, you can be in tune with your body. It's ridiculously important. I never thought about this before really becoming a naturopath or thinking about the holistic approach too much. I mean, I was anxious as a child, but I never thought about how it could affect me long-term, how it could be affecting performance, that type of thing, you know? So like the lesson in the virtual reality is that you sit in front of a lemon tree and they slice a lemon and everybody salivates. Everybody. And then the instructor goes through how your experience affects your physical body. Even if you're not consciously thinking about the experience, just being in the environment can affect you physically. And I think that's really important to know about. And when practicing mindfulness, it's important to think about. I don't know. What do you think about the mind-body connection?
Well, I'm just listening to you say that you didn't think about it till you're in school, and I'm just thinking that's really interesting because, I mean, I got submerged in it in 2008 when I dove deep into metaphysical text. And, like, we're doing life visioning and, like, mind-body connection. Like, that's all of us doing.
I suppose I call that school. I don't know. That's, like, the difference between my childhood life.
Okay. It's also the difference when you went straight from, like, the military-style thinking to any type of connecting to emotion. So, okay. I'll let you.
Well, no. I didn't explain it, but I kind of divide my life into two sections. One is, like, childhood, military, college. Mm. And the second is, like, postgraduate professional life.
Well, yeah, but it was just such a shift. Yeah,
it's a big shift. But you're right. We were focused on that. Anyways, I think it can be profound, even if it's something. It was
literally the like. It's hard to say because it was like the external factors were really obviously really hard. We were going through a lot of challenges, like changing careers and going back to school, and like the fear of the unknown kind of deal. But being completely submerged in that metaphysical realm, I loved that. Like, that's my drug.
Yeah, it's fun.
That's my, like the time that we had, it was like, I just, like, because you can't get that high again.
Right.
Like, because I got high because it was like I was having aha moments literally every day.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't the way we were raised and it wasn't the way that we thought by default. And it was almost like
so interesting.
Every day it was like, oh my God, this is amazing.
We had so much time. Looking back on it, it's like, holy smokes.
Before you have kids, you just have so much time.
Yeah, you really do.
And like, we were entrepreneurs and we were like on the hustle and going to school, and like we always have had a million things in the go. We're both like very high achievers in two different ways, but high achievers. And we thought we were so busy. And we just had so much time.
Yeah, we really did. Yeah, we did.
Anyway, I think that you've become really excellent at explaining, like breaking down just like the step by step of how to apply like just very a grounded way of explaining.
Oh, thank you. I've had lots of practice.
Yeah.
It's part of the reason why I wanted to be a clinician before I went into multiple areas in the realm of my career. You focus on different passions. I wanted to have clinician experience. And so now, I'm seeing 50 patients a week and doing tons and tons of talking and having a lot of talking.
A lot of
it's good.
talks.
I got to stop. I got to calm down. And so when it comes to the mind-body connection, I often try to explain the experience, I try to explain to people how 50% of heart attacks are not caused by high cholesterol, caused by something else. What is that something else? Well, you can have plaque buildup that's not due to high cholesterol. The constriction of the vessels can happen with stress. And so, sometimes that's not a thought. It's being in an environment that's stressful.
And I think that something that really kind of triggers both of us is that a lot of people have just surrendered to that, say they have anxiety, or they have, they're just high stress people. They can't handle things. And that's what they say. And like I've worked with a lot of people and know a lot of people in our lives that, just explaining like you do have this, it's on a spectrum, but you can have like a problem to like an actual serious disorder. But there are tools you can use in everyday life to make things easier and to feel better on a more consistent level. And when you can actually break through and like explain that to someone, these tools are they're amazing. They can be life-changing for people. And again, that's not to I think talking about anxiety, you have to be so careful because the way that some people experience anxiety, they don't there's a huge spectrum, right?
Definitely.
Of how serious it can be.
Oh my gosh.
And what I've learned in life also is people only know their level of suffering from the suffering they've been through.
Right.
You can't comprehend. So, you know what I mean? So it's not like we're ever saying someone with severe anxiety shouldn't be medicated or, you can just fix your anxiety by just doing these tools. I'm not saying any of that.
Oh, no, definitely.
But no matter where you are on the spectrum, these tools can help you.
Absolutely.
And if you have, I use the term myself, and David corrects me all the time that I have anxiety. I do not have anxiety. I default into fight or flight and stress because of things I've been through in my life. And these tools actually change my life. When I'm applying them and using them all the time, that fight or flight, or that term I use as anxiety, I don't have it.
Yeah, right.
And there are a lot of people that can be true for.
Oh, definitely.
But again, they need someone like you that can break it down very simply.
Yeah, right. Or a conscious focus on something that's proven to be effective. So, even if you take from this, okay, I'm going to look up mindfulness and just read about it. That's it. Just read about it. See if I can adopt. This is the same thing I've been doing with Stoicism recently. It just keeps coming up for me that I should be looking more and more into this.
But you married a Stoic, so.
I married a Stoic, exactly.
That's a flag.
Yeah, for sure. And then the final sort of lesson that we go through in this first series in the teaching of mindfulness is we go through a lesson that's for the purpose of reducing noisy brain, scattered thinking, distraction.
And I mean,
it's
who
different
isn't right now?
Oh yeah, for sure. It's different than intrusive thoughts. It's different than automatic thoughts.
Yes.
It's that there's so much going on, and when there's so much going on, whether it be in your own brain or in your own environment, it's very difficult to be present. And when you're not present, it's easier to slip into anxiety and depression.
Because a lot of the time, from my experience, when I've been in these kind of that state that you're describing, I can't my quote anxiety is underneath what's being said is what's wrong because I can't even figure it out. So I'm stressed. What is it? What is? Because you can't even get quiet enough or weed through all the noise. Until we set up our home environment and our life environment to be very peaceful and calm, we had literally no idea how chaotic our outside environment and how intrusive that was. And now I'm just so protective of our home. I get a little over the top with it, but I'm very protective of energy coming in,
Yeah.
Now that I've had peace.
It's important. I mean, we've seen it. We've seen the before and after.
It's crazy.
Yeah. I was going to make a joke about that's where counselors become effective. But anyways. Yeah. That's where therapy's helpful.
When
you were saying about how you're not sure where it's coming from.
No, I mean, like...
What is the underlying...
No, a lot of people's anxiety is like this fear, this palpitation that's going on, and they don't know actually what they're even anxious about because they're so congested with what's going on. And sometimes they can just get, like, when you are quiet and peel things away, you can say, oh, the feeling that's coming up for me is, you know, this, and then either you can break that down that it's irrational, or you can give yourself a plan, and then that type of like fear dissipates. What's
sad is when that work that might only take an afternoon is not done for 50 years.
I can't even go there because I mean I can't. It makes me emotional to even think of that.
Yeah.
Because I've seen it.
Yeah.
And that makes me so tragically sad. There's so many people.
Oh, absolutely.
That have spent their lives, you know, in that state with that heaviness, and they don't even know why, and it could have been not easily resolved. Because
we're not here to say that it's easy.
No,
absolutely.
As soon as you crack that open, you know, I love the quote that, you know, wherever the crack is, that's how your light comes in.
Mm-hmm.
Your wound is how the light enters. Like, it's work, you know, once you start shining that light on it, and it's consistency and whatever, but it's just, it can be it's life changing. You can have an actual life. You can feel good. You can actually be the human you'd like to be.
Right.
And that's amazing.
Is it ever?
Instead of spending your whole life, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes me emotional thinking about that.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's the basic intro to mindfulness. So I think the point of today's episode was, you know, we had this chat about social media and how it affects us, and then introduced the concept of mindfulness and how kind of I bring it to my patients. And how
you facilitate it, you break it down, you make it easy to digest, and I think that's so important. Like for myself, I think that I just, you know, dove into text and whatever, and I feel like it would have been a faster route for me if I had someone like you that could have just at the time, you know, broke that sort of thing down. But you know. And I also say, like, when you go into this type, like the way that you said, like, you're getting the call for stoicism, like, and you've been leaning into that, I think it's so important. When you lean into mindfulness, like, not the grabby stuff on the internet that's trying to get your attention, but, like, you know, someone mentions a book kind of deal, and it, like, piques your interest. You open it up and you feel some, like that, like a deep breath when you're reading it. Like, there's a few books that I have that I always turn to.
Yeah.
And as soon as I open them and I read a couple paragraphs, it's like, like, oh yeah, like, no, but this is, like, you can, once you get into the habit and the practice of mindfulness and, like, say meditation or dipping in, whatever you're dropping in, it's so easy to set yourself again.
Definitely.
You know, you can just take that deep breath and be by yourself for a minute, or read those couple paragraphs and you're like, oh yeah, and you can center so easy.
One skill that I think both you and I have developed over the years is to be this ability to be a little bit open and then a little bit critical or reserved initially at the same time.
Yeah.
And so you can give yourself a chance to connect or not connect. And so I see that on a day-to-day basis. I talk to so many different people, and I'm completely open with them, and I think I'm a pretty good listener. When it comes to taking things on for myself, I'm open, and then a little bit critical, like, hey, is this right? Is this right for me? And in reading texts and listening to talks and things, that's been so valuable. And I know that you have that. I think I got it from you.
It's so valuable. I mean, we're going to talk about our next on our next episode. We're going to talk about, like, podcasts we are interested in, books we're interested in, and I'm never with the trends.
No,
I can't, and I'm not trying to be cool. I'm not cool. I just can't do it.
Right.
They just don't do it for me.
No. That's it for today.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think we've yacked enough.
We've yacked enough over an hour.
Well,
Holy smokes.
I mean, both of us have such a like, I could talk about this
This is
nothing.
this is episode 1 of VR mindfulness. This is like where all my focus has been for the last couple months.
It's amazing.
Thank you so much for listening. If you want to see more from us, you can check Amy out at Damie Health on Instagram, and you can check me out youtube.com/Damie Health. And you can go to our website, damiehealth.com, and sign up for our newsletter and
get the episodes straight to your inbox.
Get updates about this whole jam and be notified when we post. So thanks for listening and have a great day.
See you.